Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. In today's video, we'll be discussing about one of my very tried and tested method of how to astrologically understand human psychology. Yes, it sounds very rhythmic and poetic, but today's topic is very interesting. We'll talk about how just three planets can really define a person's basic nature, mindset, personality, and decision making ability. You can use this method to understand the nature and the mindset of your loved ones with great depth, and also you can understand those people who challenge you every day. Yes, this method of mine is inspired by the work of very influential psychologist Sigmund Freud. And many years ago, I came across Freud's work when I was learning medicine, and I was really very impressed by his psychoanalytical theory. And we'll talk about this theory in this video. And most importantly, it will be all about the astrological version of psychoanalytical theory. So let's begin. Freud's psychoanalytic theory states that human personality is made of three components: id, ego, superego. So it is the interaction of these three elements which really define our complex nature, decision making ability, and of course, our personality. The very first element of the human mind is the id. It is your basic instinct principle. It's a very raw psychic energy of mind which is present since the time of birth. It is that aspect of your personality which demands instant satisfaction, pleasure, and gratification. It rules over our desires, wants, and basic necessities. This very first element of our personality can get greatly destabilized if you face problems in the childhood or the early years of life. The second element of the human mind is ego, which is also called as the reality principle. It is the role of ego to control the basic instincts and the sudden impulses to achieve something or to attain instant pleasure. Ego helps the first element, that is the id, to accommodate and deal with the real world. How to be more practical. The ego reality principle will tell you how to satisfy your needs in a very practical and socially approved way. The third element of the human mind is superego. It is also known as the judgment principle. It is that element of personality which works completely on the laws, moral standards, rules, and regulations of society. It shows that how we will follow the teachings, values, and the ethics given by our parents or maybe the elders or teachers. This principle is all about how one should behave in a socially approved manner. This element of personality will constantly push you to live a life which is more acceptable by the society. So, according to this theory, the very first element of human mind is planet Moon because it represents your basic instincts. It shows your urge to achieve instant gratification. It depicts all of your qualities which you are carrying since the time of birth. The second element of human mind is planet Sun, the ego, or you can say the reality principles, because it is the sun who strives for balance between the id and the superego. This planet will always go for a middle path, how you can satisfy your needs without breaking any law or the values. That's why it's said that you should listen to the voice of your soul. Sun is the Atma, it is your ego, and it is a planet which will show you the middle path, how you can stay happy and how you can keep other people happy as well. The third element of the human mind is planet Saturn, which is your super ego, or you can say the judgment principle. This is the planet which will constantly force you to live as per the expectations, values, rules, and regulations of the society. Now, before we proceed and understand how you can apply this concept on a horoscope to understand someone's nature, let me give you a quick example how these three elements of a personality interact together. So, how does Moon, Sun, and Saturn will interact? Don't judge me for this example. Moon is my basic instinct, it's my id. So, my moon is saying that I want to have an ice cream right now. Okay, that's my basic instinct. But then my sun, which is my ego, the reality principle, will say, well, you can have an ice cream, but maybe later because you are in the middle of your work. So complete your work and then have it. Then my judgment principle, that is planet Saturn, super ego, will say, no, on any condition, you cannot have an ice cream. There are two reasons. Firstly, it's super unhealthy, and secondly, you are overweight. So, this thing is not socially acceptable. So, yes, don't eat an ice cream. So, this is how our three elements work together, and the most ideal of all three of them is Sun. You should always follow the middle path, and the ego principle of personality is the most amazing thing. This is considered as to be the most balanced personality. Now, firstly, I would like you to look into the Sigmund Freud's horoscope. There are some very interesting placements out there which really made him a brilliant psychologist. So let's see. Psychologist Sigmund Freud stated that it is the early years of life, mostly the childhood, which defines one's personality and the future decision making ability. Just look at the 6th, 7th, and the 8th house of his horoscope. Sun, Moon, Saturn are arranged consecutively in a line like fashion. Sun is in the first sign, Moon is in the second sign, and Saturn is in the third sign. In fact, out of 9 planets, 6 planets are arranged in the very first 5 nakshatras. Atmakaraka Rahu and Venus are in Ashwini, that is the first nakshatra. Amatyakaraka Sun is in the Bharani nakshatra, so it is the second nakshatra. Then Mercury is in the third nakshatra, Kritika. Moon is in the fourth nakshatra, Rohini. And the Yoga Karaka Saturn is in the fifth nakshatra, that is Mrigashira. And we all know that it is the initial nakshatras which really define our birth, basic impulses, childhood, our early life experiences, and of course, learning. And this is the reason, having 6 planets in the initial 5 nakshatras, this is the reason why Sigmund Freud understood how the childhood, the early years of life can impact our psychology, our mindset, personality, and future decisions in a great way. These are the placements which really made him a great psychologist. Now let's briefly look into one example to understand how you can use these 3 elements, that is the 3 planets, Moon, Sun, Saturn, to understand someone's nature and personality. So in this horoscope, you can see that our psychology triad is beautifully occupying the trine houses. Sun is in the first house, Saturn is in the 5th house, Moon is in the 9th house. So straight away, this is making the native much dedicated to divine. And indeed, this person is very spiritual. Her faith never got affected even in the biggest challenges of life. Now look at the very first element of human mind, planet Moon, which is the id, the basic instincts. It is the 10th lord, placed 12 places away in the ninth house, Mrigashira Nakshatra. It's along with retrograde Jupiter in Ardhara. So these placements are making the native question her own actions. The mind keeps doubting, am I doing the right thing? Is this the right way of doing? Jupiter in Ardhara and Moon in the Mrigashira has blessed the native with such a sharp, clever, and intelligent mind. But yes, the impact of Mrigashira is causing the mind to wander and overthink. Plus, the nakshatra lord for planet Jupiter, Rahu, is in the 8th house. So, yes, all of this is causing doubt on the actions. But Jupiter is really helping the native to work intuitively. She has always felt some sort of guidance and protection around her, and she has used this divine guidance in taking important decisions. Also, you can see that the dispositor of Moon and Jupiter, Mercury, is also the 12th lord, and it's along with Ketu. So, a lot of time she has got some divine guidance from the dreams. Then let's look at the ego element, that is the reality element of personality. So, Sun is the 11th lord, it's in debilitation, first house, placed in Vishakha Nakshatra. Though Sun in the first house is quite powerful, but it's in the sign of Libra. So, it is hampering the decision making ability. The native have always failed in taking decisions which could bring profit and privilege to her. For entire life she has just given care and help to other people and never focused on self. Sun is in Vishakha, and trust me, Vishakha brings many challenges from relationships, especially the family bonds. And its Lord Jupiter is with the Moon, our id. So, further, the Sun's reality principle is much bended and deviated towards the basic instincts. A native has suffered from many family troubles which hampered the ability to focus on the inner voice, that is the voice of soul. The superego element, the third element, judgment principle, planet Saturn is the strongest planet in her horoscope because it rules the Kendra and the Trikona house, which means the fourth and the fifth house, and it is itself in the fifth house in its own sign, Aquarius, Satabhasha Nakshatra. And for her entire life, the native has listened and obeyed to the super ego. She not just have excellent knowledge of medicine, but also have always fought for the rights of weak people, especially children. Rather than caring for her own self needs, she has worked day and night for other people, especially the in-laws, because the nakshatra lord of Satabisha, Rahu, is in the 8th house. This native suffers from a constant fear about what would people say and think about her actions, and she has always followed a path which is correct for the society and people. She has a habit of helping those people who constantly backstab her, and this is indicated by Rahu in the 8th house. So, planet Saturn is making her work for other people, but as its lord, nakshatra lord, Rahu is in the 8th house, it's not bringing back that same care and love. So guys, that's all for today's video, and if you truly find my videos interesting and useful, then do subscribe to my channel. Till then, take care of yourselves. Goodbye.